Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shravani from WRI, your host for today. It's a new month and a new and exciting topic. First of all, I would like to thank all of you who have taken out your time to attend this webinar as you've always been attending. Thank you so much. Most of you guys are regulars here, but we see a lot of new people joining us as well. So thanks again. Let me give a quick introduction about what is this webinar series about. So this webinar series is a part of the project, the Electric Mobility Forum, which is funded by our kind supporters, the Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. And this project was launched by the Vice President of India on 20th March 2018. As a part of this project, we do a lot of different activities, for example, convenings and scaling and mentoring. And as a part of the scaling project, we have lots of webinars based on focus topics. So far we have successfully completed really interesting topics, in these webinars, such as testing and accreditation, retrofitting, standardization, battery technologies, and many, many more. So now it has become like more on the basis of public demand. So today's topic is something like really, really exciting for me personally as well, because I don't know, most of you might have seen in Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook that there was a news that got really viral that Wipro has collaborated with Lithium to be their service providers in terms of their fleet technologies or their vehicular segment. So we are really privileged to have the speaker for today, who is a person who works in Wipro. And it is exciting. Why? Because like we have for the first time that somebody who has actually done something on real ground and make it real and for real to happen, and then see like how he went about it and what were his challenges and high points or low points. So for today's webinar, we are privileged to have Mr. Nitin Balla, who is the General Manager and Head Facilities Management and Operations of Wipro Digital Operations and Platforms. So why is this topic important is because, as you know, that these webinar series is focused around only specific topics for electric vehicles. But from our analysis, we see that most of the topics are around, like public infrastructure, public transportation. So we are already talking of something which is already efficient, and we're trying to, emphasize more and more on that. However, although that is a utopian scenario, but what happens to the existing cars? And in those existing cars, where corporate fleets are a major chunk of the fleet size in any cities. So how do we go about transforming those things? So in today's webinar, we'll be knowing about why did Wipro think that as a part of their sustainability goals, was it important for them to convert their corporate fleet to electric? Mr. Balla would be also talking about his business case and how did they go about it, how did they do their market landscaping, etc. And also like design aspects such as operational and planning, resourcing, and many, many more things. And finally, which is the most important, is that how do they measure those impacts? So are they doing it just now, or do they have plans of doing it? And if yes, then how? So without taking much time and before transferring it to Mr. Balla, I would again just speak out some of the things that I always do, and I'm sure you already know about it, but here I go again. So this webinar is a 1-hour session, which will have a presentation by our respective speaker for today, followed by question and answers. So I would request you to send me as many questions as possible. Whatever you're curious about, just send me all of them. And I would request you to send it on the questions box and not on the chat box. So you see, like we are quite, tight on time because it's a 1-hour session. So we will be taking as many as questions we will, we could actually, but if not, don't you worry, because whenever you send me the questions in the questions box, I will be having your name and designation, and I can send it to the speaker, and we can upload it as a knowledge material in the same link wherever it was, wherever you have done your registration on. the last and the most important thing is that even I do that, so I wouldn't want you to do that again and again. So one thing is that if you are worried about that, if you have missed out on something or you're busy taking notes or pictures, don't worry about it, because the best thing is that we'll be having the whole video and the presentation uploaded in the same link as you have registered for within a week or so. And yes, you'll be getting an update as well. So that's all from me for just now. So I am handing over to Mr. Bala, and I hope that this session is equally exciting and knowledgeable for you as it is for me. So let's hear his story. There you go.
Thanks, Shravani, and thanks for the introduction. And it's a very exciting topic today that I'm going to take over. Ladies and gentlemen, and who all have joined onto this webinar, uh, very good afternoon and greetings of the day to all the attendees who would have joined in from other parts of the globe. Uh, it's really overwhelming to see such as participation and like-minded people who have come all this along and are concerned about our future generations. It's definitely my honor to be part of this platform, and I thank WRI to have me here to talk about the experience that we have gone through in driving this EV initiative at Wipro. Uh, while all of you would have read my introduction on the website, I would like to reintroduce myself. Uh, my name is Nathan Bhalla again, and I'm leading the Facilities Management Group Charter at Wipro's DOP division, based out of Delhi. And when I say DOP, it's a short form for Digital Operations and Platform Division at Wipro. I've been Wipro for almost 16 years now, and I'm responsible for leading employee commute and their experience in this for the function. Out of the various sustainability initiatives like setting up of rural BPO, carpooling, I'm actually equally excited about the journey of electric vehicle deployment across our campus locations within India. Now, what I'll quickly work on to is go through the agenda. Shoni, you there?
I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah. Is your slide not changing?
Sorry. Yeah, the screen is frozen.
That's okay, guys.
Just give me.
Just give us a moment. We are having some technical issues at the moment. So if you could just hide your screen and then fix up the presentation form and reopen it again. So Mr. Bala, let me know whenever you're ready. So till the time we talk about it, is that again, I would ask you to keep on sending me as many questions that you can. Okay, there is a question by Mr. Shivam Kashyap. He's not able to hear anything. Has it started? Yes, it has started. Guys, let us know. Just put it on the chat box if you can hear us well. Right. So is it good to go now? Okay, people can hear us just now, and they can see our screen as well. We have got Vijay Raj, and we've got Thiago and Raj. Okay, the voice is cutting off in between. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm changing it to, again, the presenter mode to be Mr. Bella just now. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. So,
Yeah.
briefly covering, the agenda for today, guys. So, what I'll briefly cover today is Wipro's sustainability initiatives. Well, what we are doing in this gamut, uh, followed by our phase-wise approach for EV deployment, and finally, key learnings, from the overall project perspective. Um, Lastly, I'll definitely, keep some time for Q&A, and we'll take it up, as the time permits. So before I begin, I would like all of you to know about a little about Wipro and what Wipro is all about. Wipro Limited is a leading global information technology consulting and business process services company. We have almost 1.75 lakhs employees serving our clients across 6 continents. So what you see here is the core of Wipro. The core of Wipro is the spirit. The spirit by which we live our values, which is driven by our chairman himself, Mr. Premji. It is really our character, reflect all our behaviors, our service, of course. This spirit is a beacon, and this it energizes us, and it is a touchstone for all that we do. So these are the 4, spirit of Wipro, and these are the values that goes into each of the Wiproite, and basis which, each and every project is taken care of. You're able to see the screen?
Yes, we can. So we have it on our values at the moment.
Just want to reiterate, check, are you guys able to see the screen?
Yes, we've got a yes from the audience. Yes,
Shavani is
everybody
there?
can see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can see our values on the screen. Okay. Is it again frozen?
I lost you in between. Yeah, the screen is flickering, it seems, some network issue, it seems. Are you able to
We can,
see the screen?
yes, we can see your screen. All of us can see your screen, and it is on our values slide at the moment.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Thanks. Thanks for confirming that.
Yep.
Right. So this is the slide that we are talking about, the sustainability. I'll share few of the data points here. Uh, Sustainability at Wipro, as it says, it's all about the good citizenship. Wipro definitely believes that whatever that we do, it should have some lasting impact and to create a sustainable society end of the day. In this slide, there are 4 major areas that we largely focus upon, and it gets covered under our gamut of ecological sustainability charter, which is biodiversity, waste and water, energy and emission. So you'll be glad to know, these are the data points from the last fiscal, and we have been able to reduce water consumptions, as you can say, almost 187 million liters in the fresh water consumption all across our facilities. Uh, we did recycle about 42% of the water input against 38% in previous years, and approximately 100% of inorganic waste was recycled within the facilities itself. Uh, few of the rewards and recognitions, that you can, see over here. Uh, it is about the DJSI, which is, that we have been the member of that particular forum for 8th time in a row continuously. And in 2018, we were named as the world's most ethical company for the 7th successive year by the Ethisphere. So these are, and we are equally proud of, whatever that we do. And coming on to this energy and emissions part of it, that is, where we are focusing our discussions today. Uh, we have been able to achieve 29% reduction in emissions intensity, uh, and we are getting about 40% of our energy for our facilities through renewable resources. There has been definitely a considerable amount of decrease in our air travel footprint from last year onwards. Talking about the mobility part of it, uh, we have been working, with urban public transport bodies for better adoption of public transportation by our employees. It has been almost 4 years that we have discontinued our daytime transport facility in India. So that was a one larger initiative that we did. And why? Because, and thanks to government, of course, they have built up a good amount of infrastructure on the roads, good amount of connectivities across all major cities, and there are options available today uh, to reach offices with respect to the bus services, the last mile connectivities, the metros, and all other app-based taxi services, that has been introduced in last 4 years in India. Uh, our employee headcount at that point in time was who were using transport facility was approximately 65,000, which stands at 50,000 for now, which has been considerably uh, reduced, because of which, people have moved on to a different mode of transportation during the daytime. We enabled carpooling, groups on cycling across the sites, and it was very heartening to see that we all of the Wipro employees, they got together to embrace this change for a cause, that is going to, build up a great future for ourselves. These are I will come back to the three-phased approach. That's the next slide, that I'm talking of. Uh, our EV deployment strategy that was divided into the three phased approach. We diagnosed, what exactly will be the requirement, why EV, and why Wipro, and why in the employee commute part of it. The first approach that we took, when we created this base study, we got into, the market landscape of it. What is the market landscape? What will be the requirements? And then we aligned all our, relevant stakeholders within the organization. And the questions came up like why, how, what, when, and is it, really making a business sense for us, to go for EVs and things like that? Are there any better solutions available in market, or can we better optimize our operations with something, which is going to affect our employee experience and help our business grow? We all know that, transport sector is the fastest growing contributor to a climate change, and it contributes almost to 23% of the gas emissions all across. E-electric, from our standpoint, was the need of the hour, and it was one of the offerings to cut down millions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions, that is created by this sector all alone. Uh, we got ourselves, onto a table on the board. We checked on the various trends which are going around in the media across the globe. In India, government taking few initiatives to improve living conditions of the people. Major OEMs talking about the change, creating a change in this industry by and creating the change in way people are will be commuting from now onwards. And EV was, coming as the next futuristic stuff and to create a greener and cleaner space for all of us. So based on the direction and discussions that we had internally, and of course, through various industry leaders and forums, we initiated our internal assessment, build our use case. Some interesting data points came on to us as we moved forward, uh, which kept our ambitions much more higher when it come across to deployment of this electric vehicles in our environment. We got in touch with various OEMs, Mahindras, Tatas, Nissan, Toyotas of the world, application providers, actually the people who are going to run these electric vehicles, how and when these will be charged, put on to the operations, and so on and so forth. We also, talked at a length to charging infrastructure providers. How and when, what all cars will require, what type of charging, what kind of an infrastructure will be required at the locations. Should the charging stations, be near to the garage, or it should be all across the city because, our boundary as such per location is around 40 odd kilometers. So these were, few of the questions and interesting data points that we got along. And we did roped in relevant stakeholders, which includes our procurement team, our HR, our real estate guys, and all the the CXOs at our organization to check on what will be the value proposition they expect out of this engagement that we are going for. And obviously, the first thing came onto everyone's mind was the employee experience and safety. That was those were the two key inputs that came onto us, which and hence we started making the plans accordingly. We the inputs were also amazing when people said, will there be any defects? Will there be any downtimes that you guys are considering? What is the backup solutions for this in case the EV goes down? Uh, the running part of it. Interesting questions. And that was, the time when we created our baselines um, to initiate the project. Any questions? I'll just take a quick 2-second check. Are there any questions so far? Are we good to go? Okay. Shawnee, you're there with us, right? Shawnee? Okay. Coming on to the next part, on the design part of it. The design was primarily on the operational planning, the infrastructure rollout, That is what we were looking at, and how to deploy the key resources onto this particular project. The design part was easy to create since we had our basics in place. And the issue came up, how do we deal with individual service providers? Uh, whether it is the fleet providers, the application softwares providers, the resource providers, uh, the headcount, I mean, and obviously, the people who are going to plan this particular fleet. And that was a time we met our partner, Lithium Technologies, who helped us lay down our goals and objectives and in one single box solution. So that is what the time when we talked about the fleet deployment, how the fleet will run, when it will run, and how will we support our business and yet take care of the employee experience part of it. The data points that came on here were that each EV must have um, a run of at least 150 or 260 kilometers per day, which results in 6 to 8 trips, which is a combination of a long route and a short route, and what will be the time of the charging hours that we will go in with. So that is what if the plan was created. And we initiated our pilot with 40 odd numbers at Hyderabad location. So the resources, the application platform, the fleet, and the charging infrastructure. It came as a box solution to us. And hence, we started putting on the complete bits together to raise on to this engagement. Uh, we had, we finalized on the fleet size. We also checked on the trip availability, what all trips can be allocated to these EV cars, and to ensure each EV gets uh, the maximum number of trips basis the charging. So the allocation of the routes was based on the charging. The charging information came through an application software. That is what we engaged in a whole project like that. We we ensured that we get the right skills end of the day to manage this operations, because without which it will be a difficult thing for us, as to, because we were like novice at this. We never had any background of how do we get those inputs and how we turn around the EVs basis the availability and basis the trips that we are generating from a routing software. So the skill resource deployment was the key, and obviously Lithium helped us in that manner as well. There were few hiccups initially with respect to the fleet registrations, driver availability, the trip allocation part of it. But I think after uh, 3 or 4 days max, the things started falling in place, and we had a great start at the location. It's almost a year that we have been using these cars. These cars are of Mahindra make. The model is E-Verito. Employee gave a great response to this initiative, and with this, definitely we become one of the first large corporates in India to take the lead in this engagement. So this was on the deployment front. As we speak, it was on the productivity of the electric vehicles. We measured the impact on a daily basis, and we got to know the feedbacks that are coming in from every area, from the driver, from the operations team, and from the employees. So this Scorecards were created, how effective this fleet is going to be with us. The best part about our engagement with lithium was that these fleets are dedicated to us, which means these vehicles run 24 hours basis for our location. So we divided the fleet into two blocks, 19 each, giving two of them as a rest for some time, and hence we created that planner how and when these vehicles will be used throughout the day. We were very clear in terms of the deployment piece and getting the maximum usage from these vehicles because the engagement was such it was a no upper limit on the kilometers that we will run for these EVs. Very surprisingly, when we started working on with these EVs, uh, 280 to 90 kilometers per EV per day was a cakewalk. The kind of uh, headcount that we have at campus locations, the kind of planning that we did for our EV stuff, it was an immense success for all of us as a team, and obviously the people experience, that went almost double, if not more. Why electric? So, and people keep on asking these questions. Why electric? Why not any other uh, type of energy that we use out here, to run the employee commute? Employee commute today, we are using 2,700 cars across our campus locations within India. Basis our internal assessments, our campus locations largely, they are strategically placed in the locations whereby we are nearly closer to the city limits, and there are areas where we touch almost the next state. Our campus locations are largely on the renewable energy, and it was making sense for us, to move on to the electric part of it. Few last quarters, everyone would have experienced this, and this is in the news. For last few quarters, we are seeing, actually sine waves in the fuel prices, which was another trigger for us to look out for alternatives. There has been a chicken and egg story in the past when there was a drive to move all diesel vehicles to CNG. What should come first? The CNG stations, uh, fueling stations, or the CNG vehicles? We kept on, thinking on that, and it was really sad, uh, to see uh, drivers having a tough time at the filling stations because of, the lack of proper infrastructure before we rolled on that initiative. In this case, unfortunately, in this case, EVs, the scenario was totally different. There was hardly any dependency on any external agency to deploy the required infrastructure. We we were on our own. We had the space, we had the partner who can provide us the infrastructure, and we had the inputs who will make this project much more successful the moment we launch it. There has been a great integration to our commitments, of course, back to the socio-economic norms that we always follows. And we can really see just after a couple of weeks itself the kind of savings that we are getting into our kitty. It has helped us a lot in last a year or so, little more than a year, and uh, we are becoming a point, an example for all of the large corporates, and most of the large corporates now are thinking on the similar lines altogether. There were strong tailwinds, of course. All of you would have read across to the media, the newspapers, and all. who's phasing out what. The future of mobility is e-mobility. uh, People are talking about the concerns of pollution, that is hovering around across our major cities in India. And yes, there are a few data points that I keep on hearing, and because I'm in Delhi, I can tell you the kind of pollution levels that we have gone through in last 4 weeks, and this is every year the story is same. It's going back to us. We need to act now, so that together we build a great future for our next generations. So that is what the idea behind this. And because it is into our hands, and we can take a smaller steps right now and see how it goes together to build a great cleaner environment for all of us. There are three things that always comes on to us when it comes to employee commute. We cover three large things: the safety and security. We want to be transparent all the times with our employees, with the business, with the vendor partners. And the third thing that we work upon is on the employee experience part. These were the three levers, while, as I said earlier in my slides, that drove our complete overall transport operations. When it comes to the safety and security, this is the car that you see on your slides right now. It's again the same Mahindra e-Verito. It comes with the turning chair. There are few options available, which is required, which we have gotten for our specially abled employees in the organization. The sleep alert system, these are the things, and the two-way camera. These things comes by default in the car, again provided by the lithium technology. And these are, this helps us in the tracking of controlling the behavior of drivers, tracking the car during the night hours, and this is as per the law of the land, that we work upon. Safety and security is definitely paramount to us, and ensure that we cover our employees through all the channels that we can talk of. We have spoken of the camera. We also deploy a security guard during the night window, and when the female employees either the first pickup or the last drop uh, in their trip. The GPS goes in the car by default when we talk about during the new night window again, and these are with the physical panic button. Uh, the moment the GPS panic button is pressed, the camera turns on, and we can view and communicate to the drivers and the employees through our command center, which is placed in each city. The next point that we go is on the transparency in operations. Uh, Whatever that we are building here, uh, and why we are building on the software part of it. We want to be as transparent as uh, when it comes to our dealings with our service partners, the number of trips that they have done, the traveled kilometers, um, you know, the compliance part of it. So we expect each of our vendor partners to share the compliance data on the software, which gets um, pointed out to him much in advance in case any of the parameters is going to be defaulted in next 15 or 30 days with respect to the driving license, as low as the pollution control checks, the medical part of it. We're talking about the um, driver health medical certificates, his health conditions, everything that we talk about, we are taking care of with respect to all the individuals who are working onto the project. The employee experience, the third part of it, again, the uh, largest things, the success of the project obviously comes from the employee experience. If the end users are happy, definitely, you have made the mark. That is what we look forward to. Because these vehicles are air conditioned by default, and throughout the year, it came as a value addition to all the employees. The weather conditions when we launched in Hyderabad, the weather conditions were not suitable. And when I say not suitable, it was pretty hot at that point in time. And it came as a boost because irrespective whether you turn on the AC or turn off, nothing is getting affected onto the mileage as in the case of ICE vehicles. These vehicles are being monitored with respect to drivers, uh, how they are driving these vehicles through advanced driver assistance systems that we have deployed. The data points do come with respect to how do we brake, how do we accelerate these fleet, and drivers are then trained on a periodic with a periodic sessions that we take at the locations. Talking about our pilot uh, at Hyderabad location, we initiated with 40 vehicles. These and we had two drivers per car in shifts, which were available for 24/7 practically. These vehicles were 100% dedicated for us, and we rotated them as per the charging schedules, which was thrown in by the application software that we have deployed for them. Average, we have already discussed. I've told you at 280 to 90 kilometers. In few of the days, it reached up to 300 as well per car per day. As I speak here, I'm sorry, we have added 30 more numbers in our operations at Bangalore as of now, and we are planning to add another 50 by end of December. That's a plan, immediate plan that I can talk about in our fleet operations. We became the first Indian major business to join EV100 initiative, which is a global initiative, launched by Climate Group that addresses this concern, this alarming concern of the weather changes and all. Our initiative was definitely is in line with government's e-mobility program and our ambition to grow up to 30% uh, all electric by 2030. We are committed to our transition to our global fleet to electrical vehicles by 2030. We are getting onto the same lines altogether. Our interim goal as of now is to increase our fleet to 500 in next 3 years and another 1,000 by 2023. Few of the uh, data points on the effectiveness and the impact that has actually resulted great for all of us here. The impact of 60 EVs is displayed on the slide right now, and the for the next 2 year plan, this is how the numbers will move up for us at Wipro. Our journey in the mobility front, so I'm just happy to share to all of you. These are our figures, our commitments. Back to the Niti Aayog committee, the EV100 part of it. This has been published all across, and I'm happy to share it with the forum right now. What are we going to do ahead in next 2 years? The locations have been finalized. The fleet numbers are being uh, finalized from the operations team, as well as coming in from the lithium planning team. This is purely based on the feasibility of putting up EVs, and definitely we are saying, since until then IC vehicles will coexist along with them. Uh, as I actually move forward, and I'm talking about more of, this is the end of the deck for me today. But then I will say this is a way forward for us. I will like to let you know that we at Wipro are also encouraging our employees to use EVs, and we have launched a corporate vehicle ownership programs, which are the lease programs, and we have gone ahead and installed 29 charging stations across our locations in India. We do hope our commitment and to enhance and promote the use of electric vehicles. We definitely offer a cleaner alternative. It will contribute to an increased potential, increased uh, and quality that we breathe, in our cities. Uh, we are doing our bit. I hereby request all of you to come together for a better future. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being a patient listener on this. Now I'll open up for any question answers, that you guys may have, and we can take it up now.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Bala. It was an amazing presentation, and I hope that people, like went through your experience and they're quite inspired to do it by themselves just now, which is great. So we see that a lot of questions coming up at the moment, but unfortunately we don't have much time. So what I'll be doing is that I will share only a few questions, and the rest of them we can answer it later on, and then we can upload it on the same link. All right. So the first
Sure.
question that I would like to ask is, so do you think that a B2B model is economically viable solution for all the electric vehicle segments?
That's right. I think it is an economical viable solution, provided the cars that we use here uh, comes in a different form factor in a large scale, right? Uh, they get enough mileage. The moment you get 250, 260 kilometers per car per day, I think it does make sense, and it can compete as close as to the regular IC vehicles. Uh, Today, we have some challenges with respect to the form factors. Uh, the vehicles that are coming today are available now are four-seaters. The moment there are other form factors like six-seater, eight, or 11 at that matter, and which will really help contribute the uh, upscale of this particular operations, and overall it will make sense to go for EVs in the large corporates like us.
Brilliant. So let's quickly skip to our next question. Is that we see that everybody is working on silos at the moment, right? So which acts as some kind of a barrier to it on a smooth transition to electric fleet. So do you think like, or what is in your opinion of creating a synergy between all those DESCOMs and municipal corporations in creating a distributed network for charging infrastructure, so that all these like B2B models, EV adoption could be like a smooth process?
So yeah, we have been, and it will be a great idea, to create synergies with them. Uh, the last mile connectivities from the discoms will really help us accelerate this deployment. Um, the government of India is also talking to discoms, and discoms internally are providing few of the incentives if it comes on to the individual charging point that they are requiring at their homes. In Delhi, I know BSES is doing a great job by providing that kind of an infrastructure at homes. But in the large corporates, uh, the electricity boards of the states are also helping us with respect to putting up an infrastructure and boost this concept altogether within the city itself. So, yeah, creating synergies with them will be a great move. Um, I have been in touch with few of the electricity board leaders, and they are in discussions with private players to deploy charging infrastructures across malls, across the societies, which will help the electric charging of these vehicles, anywhere in the city and not restricted to the hub that they originate from. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So we'll just take another two questions because we're running out of time. So the second last question is, in your opinion, do you think it is important to include private players into the EV industry to, create like a holistic and sustainable economy? And if it is important, then why do you think it is important? And if we have to include them, then what are the steps in which it is possible to involve them to the maximum level?
So yeah, it's helpful any which way. Come from any directions, help us provide a great infrastructure. It's private or public, uh, irrespective. I think this industry needs a change. This unorganized sector needs to be much more organized. The the larger contributors coming in towards creating such kind of infrastructure, I think it will only boost the economy end of the day, and there's an effect for everyone. So, yeah, so it's okay to introduce private players into this, so that large corporates like us, along with discoms, they also get benefited out of that.
Brilliant. So the last question is one of my favorite questions that we received from one of the audience. Is that see, a lot of people are in the planning phase of EV adoption for, like, different corporate fleets as well as other business models. So because you have already been through it and you have changed, like faced a lot of challenges and issues, and you have your own high and low times. So, what would be your advice or recommendation or suggestions to those people who are still on their planning phase? And if you could give quick, like, do's and don'ts for them so that it saves them time and they could learn from your experience.
Yeah, sure. So my advice to all of them who are in a planning stage is just one: go with the like-minded people, right? Go with the people who definitely understand why this change, not how the change. So, uh, few of the uh, organizations that I'm aware of, they failed in this initiative because the guy who was supposed to run the fleet, and I'm talking about the drivers here, they make them failed. The the nuances created by the drivers, right? Because if it is an IC vehicle, he's not bothered about how much fuel it is consuming during the commute, or even if it is he's not um on the move. He will turn on the AC, go and have a nice 2 3 hours sleep before he takes on the next ride. Uh, and he knows, it will take him only 2 minutes or max five to refill the tank. In EVs, it's not the case. You go for a sleep for 2 3 hours, running the AC on 100% charge, you will come down to 45 50 odd percent if you're standing still. So that's the nuance. So you need to have the skilled resources with you. And here we are not talking about the drivers. We are talking about, the drivers who's going to drive this initiative for you and not the car. So getting the right resource, getting the right partner, uh, who understands why the change will help you, create a better project plan.
Brilliant. So do you think any kind of like consumer awareness in terms of like drivers, capacity and skill building to handle those new fleets, and also in terms of like consumers, some kind of awareness could be helpful? And how can we do that? Like from corporate's angle, like corporate's point of view, like what are the steps that can be taken?
So, the drivers that we have, the drivers, the resources that we're talking about, the operations guys, uh, few of the skills that we are looking at is these vehicles are auto gear shift. So that's one. It's a big change. Largely, the drivers are used to the manual gear shifts vehicles, and that's one of the skill change which is required. Second, they need to be connected. These cars are connected cars, so they need to create or use this vehicle in such a way that in one single charge they are able to clock as many as kilometers. So which means the skills required, when to brake, how to brake, and how to drive the vehicle, that is at most important. You need a partner who will get these data points and then give back the drivers effective training so that they do their best to use these cars in such a manner that it makes business sense and create some values for the corporates.
Absolutely. I agree with you. So let's end this webinar at this note, and it's already 4 o'clock, and we're again running, away of time. So thank you, Mr. Balla, for giving us your, insights and sharing your journey with us. I'm sure it is very, very useful for people who are still in the planning stage or still thinking of, how to invest on all these things. So it's, personally, I think it was a great learning experience for me, and I hope that the audience might have benefited for them from the same as well. Thank you, audience, and thank you, Shakti Sustainable Foundation, for supporting us as always. We'll come back to you next month, and I'll be sharing the date soon with a new topic, again revolving around EV. So, as I've already mentioned earlier, that this presentation and the recording will be uploaded in the same link. You'll be getting a notification about it, and it should be up within probably a week or so. If not, do not hesitate to mail me at shravani.sharma@wri.org. That's all for today from us. Thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Valla. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.